self-assessments, if you have UWorld, two 120s, and multiple random blocks in AMBOSS. Those students who I recommend this specifically are the ones scoring even higher. So you have to make sure your QBank is decent to then start assessing yourself. And please be honest with yourself. When you're in your home, living room, dining room, kitchen, relaxing, studying, you're good, right? What happens when you're at the test center? If you have panic, anxiety, if you don't feel good when you're in different environments, I suggest my students to usually do this. I tell them, hey, go to the library. What do you mean? Go to your local library. It's quiet. It's not loud. It's not like a Starbucks or a coffee place because I wouldn't be able to study or do well there if I had to study. I go to the library. It's quiet. Find a nice cubicle and do a couple of questions. Do a couple sets because now you'll hear like, a little noise, a couple of people walking around. That's how the test center is. The Prometric Test Center isn't just about USMLE. They proctor many, many exams. So people type on the keyboard, people walk back and forth and whatnot. That's why you have to be very, very careful. You have to, noise is a problem. And a lot of times they give you the headphones or the little earplugs. But when you're home like this or in your own place, it's quiet. When you're at a library, there is a little, obviously, interaction and there's some noise. At the Prometric Test Center, there is noise too. People walk in, walk out, people type because the person next to you might not be USMLE. It's usually not. It's somebody taking a 2-hour exam, 3-hour exam for whatever the case, whatever exam it is. So that can cause a lot of problems for performing. And many people have called me who I haven't met before saying, hey, I need help. I just got my results. And I failed. And I think it was because it was too loud, the place, it was too hot. And it was too hot. There was no air conditioning and whatnot. So to solve that problem, go to the library and please do something for me. Please promise me. There's something called test driving the Prometric. Just like you test drive a car, you test drive the test center. You go to the test center and you book online, you think $30 for 30 minutes. I've been telling all my students this because more and more people are replying and are reaching out to me, telling me, yo, this test center sucked. It was too small, too noisy. The people were slow. It was hard to get back into the room through security, meaning every time you get in and out of the room, they have to check you, which messed up my time. It was next to something noisy. So if I was you, and I tell all my students what I would do, I'd set up the test driving tests and say, well, I want to go to this test center. I'm going to go do a couple of test drives, see how the place is. If it's not what I like and it's affecting my performance and I really don't feel good in it, I jump around to whatever I do like. All right. So do that. Remember, assessment tests are key. NBMEs aren't necessary in my book. They're just people, unfortunately, have to take them because you're in med school and med schools require that to get sponsored for the exam. And the reason why I don't like NBMEs are this long and they write them this long. The QBank questions are this long. USMLE questions are this long. Usually the sequence is, if you do well in your QBanks, tells us that you're very good in your science and test taking skills. Then you take NBMEs if you need to. If you score over 65%, 70%, that tells us your concepts are there. You are doing very well because NBMEs are 50 questions, not 40 per block. NBME, they make you do 100 questions straight before taking a break. It sucks. So I hope that answered your question, doctor, with when do you feel ready? Yeah? Cool. Okay. Another question. Let me just put this here because I answered that. What's the best way to review my incorrect answers? Oh, that's a good question. So the question is, what's the best way to review my incorrect answers? And that could be for your QBank. That can be for your NBMEs. But that's a question I get a lot, So see if that actually happens, see if that's a question for you. And then I'm going to look at a couple of chats that are coming in. So how do you correct? How do you review and correct? That's a wonderful question. Everyone usually has. Uh, think about what the incorrects are. If I do a question, I get it wrong. Okay. I say to myself, all right, well, what happened? Was it, I didn't know the info? Like I really was I was out of left field. I thought it was this and it was that. Okay, that's fair. That happens, right? If that's the case, then it's on my radar to review it a little bit. So I make a little list and say, well, I got to go over CHF because for some reason I thought I knew it, but I didn't know it, or pericarditis, or physical exam for pneumonia, right? Consolidation. I wasn't aware that tactile fremitus meant this. I wasn't aware when they said egophony what that meant. So that's a content thing, right? If it was, I got it wrong because I misread. I read too fast. I second guessed. I overthought. I changed right to wrong. The test taking skills, I usually take a few moments and figure out, okay, I read the scenario, seeing the patient, and I think to myself, why did I choose C if the answer is B? I just got to figure out why I got what made me think this. The majority of you don't do that. That's why the majority of doctors, they do UWorld, AMBOSS once, twice, thrice, and they go, wow, my scores are going high. Yeah, guys, you see the same cases. Oh, no, I don't remember them. Yeah, but you don't realize it, but the mind reacts. That's why if you don't take time to correct, to check the incorrects and review them properly, listen to this, ready? I have about 10 students last week. They all reached out. They go, man, I did the QBank once. And I realize as I'm doing my incorrects again, I'm getting the same stupid questions wrong. You know why they're getting them wrong? Think about it. If you're doing incorrects again, which is understandable, you could do that in your AMBOSS, UWorld, you could literally check, you could just check the selection incorrects and do them again. Your mind is reading the scenario and you're making the same connections like you did last time. You're like, well, man, why am I getting the same question wrong? It's because you didn't make that extra effort to stop and say, okay, I thought this and this and this presents to be this condition. With this condition, I thought this was the adverse effect or whatever the medication was. In reality, it was not. So if you don't actively take time to review your incorrects and figure out why you got them wrong, when you go do the incorrects again, or that question pops up when you reset your bank again, statistically 80% of the time you get the same questions wrong again. So please, this question is very important. You need to take time to review your incorrects. Now, a lot of you say, hey, stop, I do a block of 40, it takes me a couple hours. Okay, that's fair. I mean, a block of 40 can take you a couple of hours. I tell you guys, the blocks that I give you on the online community should take you a long time, I mean, a couple hours at least. But that's because you're learning the scenarios. You're learning why this is right and this is wrong. As you proceed forward with your studying and you finish all the organ systems, guys, you shouldn't be spending hours on a block of 40. You should spend time on the incorrect, see why you're getting them wrong, and say, all right, well, is it content or test taking? Boom. And if it's content, don't spend hours on it. Say, how can I learn this in 5 minutes or less? I have thousands of things to do. I have thousands of things to cover, from immuno to micro to biochem to all the organ systems to behavioral science and everything, epi and biostats and medical ethics. I don't have all day. I had all day back then when I was doing renal. Now I'm like, crap, I got nephritic wrong. Why? Oh, I keep making the same mistake. If that's happening to you, if you're saying that, I keep making the same mistake, that's because you're not putting that extra push to say, I need to figure out which ones are nephritic and which ones are nephrotic. You have to know it. Either you memorize it, you pick the stupid list and say, I will know all the nephritics, and the nephrotics will be by default. If you don't, you're going to get those points wrong, which you shouldn't, because you're going to get other questions wrong, which you probably should, because they're stupid questions.